Hi, good evening. It's lovely to see you all today. Welcome. Welcome to something that feels actually very personable for myself and perhaps many of you who have been active in the social economy. I am a small social entrepreneur working in the area of agri-food systems and tropical agriculture. And exactly what we are going to be speaking about tonight, which is what can climate and digitalization do really for the social economy to bring it forward, is something that I feel on a very personal basis every single day as it relates to remote farming, climate-sensitive farming, and how digital tools from AI, machine learning, and even just simple Zoom conferences can bring us together. So while I realize this is about the many, literally 2+ million social enterprises and solidarity workers here in the EU, I think many of us also carry a personal message on what it means to us and the work that we've been doing. Today we're going to be celebrating everybody from the Commission to members of Parliament to also actors and experts who are active in the social economy field to understand what really does this transition mean to enabling not only the social economy to flourish and deliver on its impact goals, but also to ensure that it's green and really fit for purpose in digitalization along the way. Now, do you all know what it took to get here today? 5 big steps, and the 6th one is tonight. The first big step started around May 2021, when the industrial communication came out to define that there are 14 important ecosystems that ensures that the European Union is fit for purpose and strong, identifying a place for private enterprises to contribute to a green and just future. After that, maybe some of us met each other in 2021 at the European Social Economy Summit in Mannheim, where there is a declaration where we really underwrote, after listening to 6,000 experts over 2 days give their personal stories and experiences. Oh man, there were their challenges, their opportunities, about what really it took to bring their social organizations, charities, welfares, and social enterprises forward. Mannheim Declaration put into flow what then became Social Economy Action Plan. And wasn't that fantastic? Here really was a political basis which led us to the opportunity to have the framework for the market to respond. The market to respond? Well, yes, that's us. That's people like myself and many of our actors here today who are active in the field. Earlier this year, there was an online survey to understand what does this political framework mean as it relates to green and digital transitions. Then 12 deep dive structured workshops occurred to really dive in and understand, okay, well, what are those barriers? And really, what does it mean to bring a coal mining community from parts of Eastern Europe through upskilling, through financing, and through perhaps enabling renewable technologies in the future? Out of these structured workshops, we now have what we're launching here today, the transition pathway for the proximity and social economy. And the 6th part is you. That's why there's not an extra seat on the on the stage here. It's all of the seats here. And this is what I understand from Mr. Breton through to DG Grow. It's a co-created process. We had to have these first 3 steps of policy, and now we need these 3 steps of market response. And that's what we're doing here today. We're pledging. Colleagues, if you have interest in alternate languages, in your seats you're going to find headphones, where we have language options for German, French, and Spanish. And we welcome those of you online. We have about 400 people that are joining us here tonight. Online, you will also find your language options, and a big thank you and gratitude to our translation colleagues here today. So, where should we start? Mr. Breton, I was just talking about all of the steps that you have made to bring us this far. Would you like to bring us here on stage, please, and share exactly what it means for you to launch the transition pathway? Thank you very much.
I think these applause are for you, because it was great. Like in the theater. And you did everything alone. Orchestra, acting, everything.
Well, you, my friend, you're the main act. So if you keep the show going.
It was for you. No, it was for you. So here we are now today for the much awaiting launch of the Proximity and Social Economy Transition Pathway. And of course, since the adoption of the Social Economy Action Plan last December, we did a lot of things, as we have seen. Many, many things. And a lot of things had happened also in our environment. Of course, the pandemic, not over yet, but it has changed a lot of things. We have been able to curb it in Europe thanks to our vaccination strategy, but it continued to have consequences on a global supply chain. We all know that. Of course, the global warming, which is even more a true issue for all of us, day after day. Now the energy crisis and the war in Ukraine. So yes, we have to cope with many crises. We call it perma-crisis era now. And in this time, of course, we have been able to overcome the situation so far, thanks to values, our values. And I think you retrieve these values in the social economy. Solidarity, fairness, sustainability. That's the DNA of the social economy. And it has been also what we had to use to overcome so far all this crisis. But of course, going back on the social economy, we can rely on the 2.8 million social economy enterprise in the single market, which is not less than 10% of all our businesses. That's huge. That's really, really significant. And when we met last year, maybe you remember that I insisted already on two major issues and points. First, the need to build a solid business case for the green and digital transition that is fair for everyone, not leaving everyone behind. And with the twin transition, many, many traditional patterns are being challenged and requires definitely new thinking. This is where, of course, the social economy chips. It offers product and services through alternative business model, and that's really something extremely important. And the second important point is that, of course, there is a risk that more and more citizens, companies, employees could be left behind in this transition, and when this transition will accelerate, and it will. So that's where, of course, we have a very important role to play, all of us here in this room. Readiness for change is therefore a very important challenge, and also to help us, we can rely on what we call the transition pathway. And by the way, this is the second transition pathway that we are launching after the one of tourism. Over already 400 stakeholders are part of it. By the way, many of you are members of it, and thank you very much for your commitment and for your service in this pathway. That's extremely important. We have worked in this pathway hand in hand, identifying 30 concrete actions for the green and digital transition that will serve as a compass and of course, a concrete agenda for the years to come. Few examples. First, the pathway will provide social economy entrepreneurs access to tools to measure the carbon footprint of their activities. And it will help also to boost digital social innovation and tech for good entrepreneurship. But more generally, the transition pathway shows how the social economy is a catalyst across all the industrial ecosystems. For instance, social entrepreneurs facilitate a more circular digital ecosystem by proposing repair and reuse services in many areas. Of course, we think of electronics, but you can, of course, do this in many, many, many more areas. That's extremely, extremely, of course, important. But social economy can also help to develop new models of ownership for energy, such as, of course, renewable energy cooperatives. so dearly needed, of course, these days for Europe to become energy independent. And it also promotes new digital applications such as assistive technologies for health services, for example. But of course, to push this potential, we need to lift remaining barriers of financings and also skills. The Skills Partnership for the Proximity and Social Economy launched last spring will definitely help us. Its members committed to upskill up to 5% of their workforce every year, which is extremely important and ambitious, but necessary. And among other priorities, we have announced 2 important Commission initiatives for 2023. The first one will be to table a legislative initiative on a statute for European cross-border association. It was long waited, so that they can benefit fully from the freedom offered by the full single market. And this association play, as we know, a very important role in providing in this economy goods and services in many, many areas of the EU's economy, in particular, of course, the social economy. And the second thing I wanted to share with you tonight is that we'll propose a Council recommendation on developing social economy framework conditions to help member states better adapt their policies to the specific needs of social entities. In parallel, it is time to think, of course, about now implementation of this transition pathway. And today, if you allow me, I'm calling upon you to continue the collective work and, of course, to keep the momentum in making this pathway a true reality through concrete pledges and action. So I know that I can count on you, all of you here in this room, of your determination, your commitment. But I wanted definitely to be here, even if I'm a little bit late. I'm coming from the Parliament, so I apologize for that. We are a democracy, and the Parliament is extremely important. I was audited by the Budget Committee, so it's even more important, including for what we are talking here. I just wanted to assure you that, of course, you can count on me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hear from you.
So you take this chair?
I'll take this chair.
Okay, fine.
A lady who knows what she wants. Speaking of, you've mentioned, Ms. Breton, you've asked us for a call to action. You've asked us to pledge and participate. For us as actors in the social economy, we also want to know from you what instruments should be made available at the EU and national level to make this ecosystem transition a success.
Oh, what instruments? In fact, we have many instruments. First, when we are in such a big transition, we need measurements, KPIs. I'm coming from industry myself. And of course, KPIs as a tool for progress. There's a commitment, there's a vision, then we need to progress day after day. And KPIs are good tools to see what we achieved, well or bad, how to correct our weaknesses, and how to continue to progress. So we have these, of course, instruments today, and I think it's important, but I would like maybe to mention more specifically 3 of them, if you allow me.
Please.
So first, creating opportunities for a dynamic business environment. And of course, we mentioned this through our single market program and our Digital Europe programs. We'll definitely continue to develop relevant schemes addressing innovation, regulatory issues, socially responsible procurement, or also internalization. We can also make the most of the Europe Enterprise Network, it already exists, which helps social economy to social economy enterprise, more specifically, to develop green product and processes, or to support them getting more digital. Second example, improving access to diverse sources of funding, which is extremely important in these days. And the action plan on social economy has already stressed that increasing level of EU funding, of course, will be necessary to support a social economy all around Europe. Already during 2014-2020, the EU budget mobilized at least 2.5 billion euros for the social economy and other related topics, microfinance, social innovation, and so on. And now the social investment and skills window of InvestEU will use part of the 2.8 billion euros of guarantee to support the deployment of financial products for social enterprises. And these products will help, of course, to mobilize, that's a leverage, private fundings, and could generate up to 30 billion of total investment. So that's pretty significant. And of course, the third, not a surprise for you, boosting skills. That's extremely important. And as I mentioned in my speech, skill partnership for the proximity and social economy that we launched in 2022 with my friend Nicolas Schmidt is extremely important. It brings over 140 public and private actors. And the partnership will identify key areas and needs for upskilling and reskilling the social economy workforce or to mobilize public and private funds to achieve this objective. So that's basically what I wanted to mention as some specific tools that we'll be able to use to support your initiative.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We look forward to understanding how these funding mechanisms roll out and also, as you say, these important skills. Taking the next step from there, Mr. Breton, what challenges and opportunities do you foresee, for example, in the digital transition specifically for the ecosystem?
So that's also a very important subject. It should reach all our ecosystems, including, of course, the shared economy. But it's fair to recognize that in general, they have a low, let's say, digitalization level, for a reason we can pretty well understand. But at the same time, the so-called social tech entrepreneurs use definitely digital technologies such as AI, blockchains, e-platforms to act on inequalities with new solidarities and also boost increasing growth. So for instance, in education, some are using AI to improve curriculum design and provide also pupils with customized online learning materials. But we can definitely do more to develop opportunities for social economy. And here I could mention maybe 3 or 4 ideas, if you allow me. So first, develop a platform economy using social economy models. We know that cooperative platforms bring new opportunities by promoting shared ownership, shared assets, mutual and collective awareness, and they will be, of course, key player in the implementation of our DSA and a new DMA regulation. So that's the first thing that I think it's a pretty good momentum when next year we'll enforce these 2 regulations. It will be a good opportunity for social economy to jump in. Second, reflect on how social economy actors can make the best use of data. Data will be used by everyone, including, of course, social economy. And data processing, management, and collection are not yet generalized practices within the ecosystem. That's really something that we all know. That is why the Commission intends to develop a code of conduct of data and use and management for social economy entities, which would be very important, also used as a booster. Third, promote technology that is adaptable, affordable, and accessible, for example, through digital common and open sources technologies. And maybe, well, I think that's probably already enough for opportunities for you. If you do this already, if you all do this, it will be good.
I'm counting already on my fingers. I've run out of hands.
Okay.
All the things that you were offering to us. So this is very generous, Mr. Breton. I love that you are coming to us with packages of stimulus and capacity building. What do you expect from us in return? You know, we're here today to launch this transition pathway. And it's not a one-way street, as you say, it's about co-implementation. So what are you expecting from us in the ecosystem?
Well, when we are engaging in such a wide transition, I think cooperation between all the stakeholders is absolutely essential. We should be absolutely inclusive. And this exercise will only work if we rely on a very strong cooperation between actors at all levels when it comes to implementation. So I strongly believe that stakeholders represented in this room engagement is absolutely necessary with concrete pledges. That's something which is important, because then they give examples and ideas for others. We always need good students, bad students too, because we need everyone. But if we have some good students, please feel free to raise your hand and to play. But on our side, of course, the Commission will facilitate this process, definitely, because by taking stock of stakeholders' pledges, assess progress, as I said, measure it, and of course support cooperation among all the stakeholders. And of course we have also the Industrial Forum, which will oversee this transition pathway, like other pathways, and keep regularly update, including versus all the other ecosystems. This is a true ecosystem, so we need to support it like the other one, and to exchange also good ideas with other industrial ecosystems. So the goal is for all of us to work together, and definitely to work and to mobilize all relevant fora and efforts. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Mr. Breton, did I just hear you say before you would like to hear pledges straight away? Because, I mean, not to be competitive about it, and I know you're working on 14 ecosystems, but I think the proximity and social economy is a pretty good ecosystem to invest in.
True.
And not that we're asking for more already, but if we promise to pledge quite quickly, do you think there's opportunity for us? Do we have anybody here that might be able to say, okay, we take you on, Mr. Breton, and we have a pledge to give?
Okay, but no more than 20, please. Because then I have to go back to the Parliament again, because I have a trilogue.
Okay, no troubles. But like, we just want to say that we're putting our
One or two will be
voice
fine.
where the voice is. Does anybody have something? Manuel, I see you're here with the Social Economy
Manuel.
Summit.
Hello, hello. Yeah.
What would you like to pledge?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Commissioner Breton. I don't want to make 30 pledges, even though the Commission has 30 goals for our ecosystem, which I think is really great and very ambitious. Just a quick introduction. I'm from Germany, from the Center for Open Social Innovation. And we are a competence center, and we were involved in the European Social Economy Summit. So some can see this on my hoodie. So I've been a part of the journey since quite some time. I don't know exactly how a pledge should look like. So, but maybe this is some inspiration. Maybe you can tell me if this is the direction that you're heading to. So as we're working in the interface between industry, government, academia, and we're trying to bring all people together, one pledge that we could do, for example, is that pledging to facilitate corporate volunteering from industry leaders, partners of ours are SAP, Microsoft, for example, to help the social economy digitalize. And just to throw something out there, for example, till 2025, we could pledge to have 10,000 corporate volunteering hours that we facilitate. So that would be something I think ambitious but achievable for us. We have already been doing that, and I think to bring the traditional economy and the social economy together would be very vital. And yeah, that would be a pledge that we could do, for example.
That's a very good pledge. Bravo.
Thank you.
That's a very good pledge, but now we have to deliver. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the vision is here. Now, let's work on the roadmap.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
What about another? Do we have anybody else that would like to pledge? Oh, please, Agnes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, Mr. Breton, I would like to thank you for your commitment and your support of the social economy. It's very important for us. I think, Alessia, you remind that there were 14 ecosystems. And in fact,
ecosystems, yes.
14, yes. And among these 14 ecosystems, social economy is a newcomer, in a sense. And not all people know about social economy. So we have to deliver. We have collaboratively to deliver some results and to to pledge, in fact, into some actions for this pathway. So my name is Agnès Matisse. I'm working for Cooperatives Europe, which is a representative organization of the cooperative across Europe, trans-sectoral cooperatives, so not the specific sectors. And we would like to work with all of you, in fact, or most of you, on the issue of skills mismatch for on-grid and digitalization transition. And our target in that regard will be mainly the young entrepreneurs that want to be involved in social economy, but that doesn't have all the skills regarding grid and transitions. So we are mainly working on planning to work on the curricula across Europe, but not alone, as I said. I mean, we're going to work with training center, private and public, universities, public authorities, social economy practitioners, and of course, in as member states as possible, which is quite a challenge. Currently, we've got 5. We hope next year we're only going to meet together, Mr. Breton, to present the result of our pledge. We hope to have 28 of us. And we will mainly offer tools for the development and to support these young entrepreneurs to have all the skills that they will need on digital transition and green transition. Mainly workshop, training materials, and maybe we're a bit ambitious, but we would like to set up a kind of international master, or at least European master, on social economy and green and digital transition. Yes, maybe I'm a bit ambitious. I'm afraid now, because I take the pledge officially in front of everyone. But at least we will try to do it. And thank you very much for your support.
Very good. Okay.
There we go. You put out the call, we respond.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Have a good session, and I will count on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Breton. Thank you very much. So we have many friends in the transition and social economy. One of them is probably known to many of you, Hilde Schwab. We have a message from our colleagues here at the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship. And unfortunately, Ms. Schwab could not join us here in person, but we sent her 2 questions in advance, and she sent us a little response. So our questions were, how can social economy business models thrive and scale up in the circular and digital economy to develop greener and smarter products and processes? And our second question was, where do you see the potential and how is the Schwab Foundation actually engaging on these aspects? So one was a question about the opportunities and the other one was, what are you doing to help? Let's find out what she's got to say. Video, please.
Thank you for the question. And my apologies that I cannot be with you in person today for this important milestone in the mainstreaming of the social economy. We know that the green and digital transitions offer significant opportunities, but there is also a serious risk of increased inequality with a large digital divide and the potential of loss of jobs in transition. Innovative, people-centered and locally anchored social economy business models offer inspiration to industry and to us all how to deliver on just and inclusive green and digital transitions. Within the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship's community, we have many social innovators who show how it can be done. Examples include the Center for Digital Inclusion in Brazil and Siluro Uluto Technologies in South Africa, who have ensured that hundreds of thousands of those who have been disadvantaged and excluded from quality education can still develop advanced digital skills and take advantage of the digital economy. Katinga Mentaya project is a social enterprise in Indonesia, the largest project working with local communities to protect and restore over 100,000 hectares of peat swamp forest in Indonesia, generating sustainable incomes. We need to move these models from the margins to the mainstream. The question is, how do we raise the visibility and investment of these social economy business models to the level of large-scale industry and open up more avenues for collaboration with business and governments? The World Economic Forum has for decades convened and curated major private-public initiatives with industry and government leaders. The Schwab Foundation, through its close relationship with the World Economic Forum, sits at the nexus of these trends. It seeks to bring social innovators into close proximity and visibility of key actors involved in these complex, large-scale economic transitions. Examples include involving social innovators in several of the Forum initiatives, like the Partnership for Accelerating the Circular Economy, the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and the Edison Alliance, which wants to bridge the digital divide in education, health, and finance. These types of partnerships empower social enterprises with the right tools and technology to build and develop their operations to deliver social value globally. And at the same time, corporations see firsthand how social enterprises combine doing sustainable business while prioritizing green and social aims. The Schwab Foundation remains committed to facilitating these kinds of partnerships with social entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. It's so important to see how many lessons we can learn from around the world, isn't it? While we have so much innovation here in Europe, it's so important to keep that global perspective. Following up from Mr. Breton, Ms. Toya, we understand how important the Commission's cooperation with the Parliament is, and we would like to welcome you here to understand more about what you're doing with the Interreg group, and also how important and what the activities that the Parliament is taking. If you would like to take a seat, please.
Thank you for that invitation. Sorry, but I will speak French. It's easy for me to understand English, question in English, but I want to speak in French. Je suis à mon aise avec le français.
I feel much more comfortable in French.
Je ne sais pas si c'est un problème pour vous.
I don't know whether that's a problem for you.
No, everybody's got a translator in their seat, or you understand French perfectly. Okay.
Merci beaucoup. Alors,
So thank you very
pour
much,
cette
and
invitation.
thank you very much indeed for
Surtout, je suis très très
inviting
heureuse.
me. I
Je
have to
dis
say
ça
that I'm
d'abord
very
parce que pour moi,
happy.
discuter d'économie
I'm
sociale,
very
que c'est une chose que je fais très
because
très souvent.
discussing the social economy, which
Je
is something
fais
that
avec
I do frequently,
l'institution européenne qui s'occupe de l'économie
and
du
do
marché
it,
intérieur et de
with
l'industrie, c'est pour moi
and
une
the commission
conquête.
that,
Et pour nous
deals
tous, c'est une
with
conquête.
the social
C'est pas
economy
de
and the
perdre
economy
quelque
in
chose, mais
general. I think this
d'acquérir,
is a real
de
victory. This is a
conquérir
real
quelque chose en plus
victory.
pour donner
It means that we
plus
have
valeur et
achieved
plus possibilités à ce
something
secteur. Donc pour
so
moi,
as
c'est
to add
une grande
value to
occasion.
the sector.
Et
So
je
it
remercie
really
qui
is
a organisé tout ça.
a
Qu'est-ce que
very
fait le
important
Parlement? Qu'est-ce
occasion
qu'il a
for me,
fait?
and thank you very
Et
much
moi, je
for
suis ici
organising it.
depuis
I'd like to
15
say
ans.
something about what the
Et à
European
partir du
Parliament
premier
has
jour,
done.
j'ai travaillé dans
I've been
l'intergroupe économie
working
sociale,
there
que c'est la
for 15
première
years. From
organisation
day
dans le
one,
Parlement
I
qui
worked with the
s'occupe
main
de cette
organisation in the
importante
European
question.
Parliament that
Et
deals
donc,
with these
dossier,
important issues.
je peux dire que
Following
c'est aussi si
various,
on a vu des moments, des périodes plus faciles, plus
issues. There
intenses
were
de
easier
travail,
times,
des autres périodes
there were more difficult
plus lentes,
times
mais
for
toujours
our work.
l'intergroupe a travaillé.
Sometimes things,
Et a travaillé
sometimes progress was made more
avec
quickly,
dialogue
sometimes more
avec tous
slowly,
les
but the
stakeholders,
intergroup
tous les
worked
parts,
throughout. We had constant
les
dialogue
intéressés,
with
les
stakeholders,
organisations
with interested
nationales et surtout
parties,
les
with
organisations
national
européennes. Je vois
organisations,
ici
European
Social Economy
organisations
Europe,
in
avec,
particular. Social
on
Economy
a
Europe,
travaillé
I can
beaucoup
see
avec eux,
here,
l'Organisation
represented
européenne
here,
des
and we worked
coopératives et
with
tous les
venture
sujets qui sont
cooperatives organisations
arrivés
as
chez
well.
nous. Avec Social
And,
Europe, on a
everything
plus
with Social
travail
Economy
plus
Europe, for
continuatif.
example, there we
Mais
work,
on a parlé
we
avec
work
tous
constantly
et
together, but we've
travaillé avec tous.
had
Le
a dialogue with
l'intergroupe a
everybody
produit
and worked with
aussi des
everybody.
documents
The
du Parlement.
intergroup has
Le
also
dernier, vous le
produced
connaissez, c'est
some
le rapport
Parliament
d'initiative de M. Canas,
Mr. Canas' initiative
fait le
report,
point
for
sur
example,
le plan d'action et sur ce
on
qu'on
the
peut faire
action
comme Parlement
plan and what the European
sur les
Parliament
priorités
can
qui sont pour
do,
nous les actions les plus urgentes et qu'on pousse
focusing on
parce
the
que
priorities,
c'est
the most
un plan
urgent
pour lequel on doit dire merci beaucoup à M.
priorities.
Schmitt qui a
This
travaillé avec
plan,
ses
we'd
bureaux
like
et qui
to
travaille
give
aujourd'hui avec le
full-throated
bureau de gros
thanks
et
to
pour moi c'est
Mr. Schmidt, Commissioner
une chose
Schmidt,
très importante
because
que tous
we worked closely
les
with
parties
him,
de la
also
Commission
with
qui sont
DG
engagées
Grow. It's
peuvent
very
donner une contribution
important,
pour
of
rendre
course,
ce
that
plan
all
d'action vraiment
sections of the European
complète,
Commission that are involved in this can have
intégré, qui
input
arrive
into
dans
this,
tous
because we need a
les
plan,
coins
of course, that's as comprehensive
où
as
doit arriver.
possible.
Donc, le rapport d'initiative de M. Canas Canas, j'ai fait un
So
rapport
Mr. Canas'
peut-être il y a 2 ans pour faire le
report,
point
and
sur la
there was
situation
a
de l'économie
report
sociale en
2 years
Europe
ago
avec des
giving an overview of the
engagements pour la
situation of the
Commission.
social economy
Alors la
in
Commission
Europe
a
and the
représenté de
Commission's
M. Andor,
commitments.
M.
Mr. Andor represented the
Barnier et Tajani avaient fait
Commission,
des
Mr.
choses,
Barnier,
des
Mr.
socialistes qui
Tajani
avaient-
as well.
Après,
They
je
did
dis que la
do
Commission a été un
things.
peu silente.
And then
Mais
perhaps the
maintenant,
Commission went into
on
retreat
entend
a
une
little
voix
bit
très,
on
très
this, but
forte
now we're
et
hearing very
l'intergroupe est
strong
prête à
voices
travailler ensemble.
again, and the
Je
intergroup
pense
is
que
willing
c'est le
to
Conseil qu'on
work
doit un peu
with them
pousser.
again. But I
Et
think
si
where
j'ai
we
un
need to
engagement
push for a
précis
bit more
pour
progress is in
prochain
Council,
mois,
is with the
c'est
Council.
de
And what I'd like to
travailler
do over
après
the
la
next
Commission
few
parce que la
months is
recommandation du
work
Conseil
okay
soit quelque
together
chose
with the
effectivement
Commission
important.
to ensure that
Et
the
la
Council
recommandation du
recommendation,
Conseil
the Council
doit avoir
recommendation,
le
because Council
Conseil engagé
recommendation, of course, is
pour
very
faire arriver à
important.
tous les États
And the
membres, M.
Council
Breton aussi l'a
recommendation
dit ça,
should be
pour faire
something
arriver à
that
tous les
reaches
États
out to all
membres
member states,
l'idée,
of course, so that all member
l'indication,
states
les-
are aware
quelque chose qui peut être aussi un peu
Of-
prégnante, pas seulement une suggestion, pour
of
faire
this
toute l'activité
in
dans
a way
les
that
pays,
isn't just a
au niveau
suggestion,
national
but that is
et au
very
niveau
relevant
régional.
and tangible in
On
terms
a
of
une
what
grande
they can
occasion que c'est
do
le
nationally,
Next Generation
regionally,
Europe
locally.
et tous les,
There's Next Generation
les plans
Europe,
nationaux
which
de
is
recovery
a
and resilience.
big
Là-dedans,
opportunity. The
l'économie sociale doit
recovery and
être
resilience
présente,
plans
doit
there.
être
So the
appelée,
social economy
s'assise,
should be
s'asseoir au même
within
table
that
pour décider
plan.
ensemble
It should
et
be
pour
sitting at the
réaliser des
same
pactes, mais aussi pour
table
prendre
as
les
the other
décisions.
stakeholders
On
to
est
take
encore en temps
decisions
parce
on
que
those
les plans
plans.
sont faits,
And
mais
it's
la
still
réalisation, les décisions
we've still
encore
got time
de
to do that
comment
because, okay, the
programmer, comment
plans
faire des
have been
plans
drawn
sont
up
ouvertes.
already,
Donc là,
but the
et le
implementation
Parlement fera
of
ça.
those plans is still
On
open,
doit
and that's
trouver
something that parliaments will, of course,
les
be
voies
doing, but they should do that
institutionnelles
with the stakeholders.
appropriées
We need to
pour faire
find
entendre
the
notre voix
appropriate
aussi
institutional channels to make sure that our voices
à côté de la
can
Commission
be heard
au Conseil.
with
Je
the
pense que ça, c'est
Council, with the Commission.
le point de trois
I think
institutions européennes qui
that
doivent faire
that
plus
is
et
what
plus
those are the three
poussant les
European
États membres.
Union
Une
institutions that should
dernière
do
chose,
more
si
to push member
j'ai encore
states to do
un
more.
petit
And
temps
then
pour
one more
répondre.
thing, if I may,
Et
just one
notre
more thing,
activité en tant qu'intergroupe, c'est pas seulement de faire des rapports
is to say
d'initiative,
something
donc de
about
pousser, de
what
dialoguer avec la
Intergroup
Commission
does.
et
It's
le
not
Conseil.
just
C'est aussi de,
about
et moi je l'ai fait,
producing
mais aussi mes
reports on our
collègues,
own initiative and
de
initiatives
porter
with
dans
the
notre
with the
activité
Commission and the
législative
Council,
quotidienne,
but it's
dans les
also
commissions
about
dans lesquelles nous sommes assises, nous participons.
legislation
Je
and the
viens de la Commission de l'Industrie
legislation.
cet après-midi, Monsieur
There are various committees
Breton
in the
était à la
European
Commission
Parliament
budget,
that I
et tous
was
les
in the
collègues
Industry
de
Committee this
l'intergroupe,
afternoon,
j'espère
and
aussi, et
Mr.
ceux qui
Breton
ne
was
sont
in
pas
the Budget
présents
Committee,
dans
and the
l'intergroupe,
intergroup,
doit
the members of
saisir toutes les
intergroup
occasions
need
qu'on
of
voit
course
pour
to take
mettre dans nos
every opportunity
directives, règlements,
to ensure that
documents,
directives,
cette attention.
regulations,
On fait
all
des choses.
legislation
Quelle est la possibilité pour
includes
le monde de
this
l'économie sociale de
aspect.
participer à ça?
Anything
Je
that's
fais deux
done,
exemples. Quand on a
what
fait
can,
le
how can
règlement
social
de
economy be
InvestEU, vous
involved
connaissez
in
InvestEU,
that?
c'était le plan
Invest
qui
EU,
arrive
for
après le
example,
plan
that's a piece
Juncker,
of
le grand
legislation.
plan
It
d'investissement.
follows on from the
Juncker a fait le premier.
plan. There was the major
InvestEU, c'est plus
investment plan, and
complète.
then InvestEU
Et on
builds on
a
the
mis
original
l'économie
Juncker,
sociale
President
avec tout,
Juncker
vous savez,
plan.
les problèmes
And
de
we
définir ce
included
qu'est
the
l'économie
social
sociale, les
economy.
sujets de l'économie
It was
sociale.
difficult to
Tous les
define
fois,
what the
les
social
services
economy
législatifs font des objections. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Il n'y a pas la
is,
définition.
we get,
C'est un problème encore ouvert. Mais
objections
on a
from
mis ça
lawmakers because there isn't a
dans les
definition of the
possibilités
social
des sujets qui
economy.
peuvent
But we were able to
avoir
include
les
it
possibilités d'investissement.
as
C'est maintenant
a
qu'on peut
source,
le réaliser.
or
Mais
a
là-dedans, la
recipient of
possibilité
investment.
législative est là. Et moi,
So it
j'étais
is possible within the legislation
relateur
of the social economy to be a
du
recipient
plan,
of
le
investment
programme de
thanks to
moyenne
this.
entreprise.
There's
On le
also
appelait
the
COSME.
COSME
Maintenant, ça s'appelle le
plan,
programme.
the,
Il s'adresse
Small and
surtout sur les
medium-sized
petites
enterprises,
et moyennes
initiative,
entreprises,
which is of course
avec des
mainly
possibilités de
for
financement,
those, small
pas
and
si larges,
medium-sized
mais il y en a.
companies, with
Et moi, j'ai mis
financing
là aussi
opportunities,
cette
not a great
possibilité
deal of
pour
finance
les
available,
sociétés de
but
l'économie sociale, les
I
entreprises
was
de l'économie
able to
sociale.
include
Ce sont
social
deux exemples,
economy
mais je suis sûr
companies
que mes collègues
within
peuvent
that
faire des
initiative
autres
as
pour
well.
dire que ce que
Those
l'on
are just a
fait
couple of examples,
pour
and there are others as
les
well.
entreprises doivent
What
avoir
we've been
aussi la
able to
possibilité,
do
avec
for
les
companies in
adaptations
general, for business
nécessaires,
in general, should
pour
also
l'économie sociale d'être
apply
part
to
de ces
social
possibilités. C'est
economy,
un
with some
process
adjustments, of
pas défini,
course.
et on a
It's not an
juste
entirely
commencé,
defined
mais
process,
je
it's
pense
something
que
that
c'est
we've
une
just
autre
started
possibilité possibilité
doing now. But I think that's
parcourir,
another
parcourir
opportunity,
pour
another
mettre l'économie
possibility that
sociale
we can
dans
look at.
l'activité
Social economy
législative ou
should
programmatoire ou
be
toute l'activité
within the
de
programming
l'Europe.
activity, the legislative activity done by the European
Completely
Union.
agree. Thank you so much. We would love that you bake the social economy into all sorts of funding instruments agreements and also negotiations. It also sounds very complex, Ms. Toya, about the different cooperations that you have through the different groups and how they are working. Thank you very much for that. You mentioned resilience before and how important this is. Just in one short sentence, in your opinion, how does sustainability and digital development pay into resilience?
Yes. Je pense qu'elle a dit aussi Breton, mais c'est une
I think that
idée qu'on
Commissioner
partage
Breton
parmi
also
beaucoup de nous.
touched on this.
Ce qu'on a passé, le Covid et tout ça,
But
nous a
I think that what we've gone through over the last few years, the COVID pandemic,
et apprendre que
etc.,
la résilience de la société,
has,
c'était
I
fait en
think,
même temps que
shown
résilience
us
économique et résilience sociale.
that resilience
Il y
is
en
very
a du
important. Economic
bien-être,
resilience, but
il y a
also
aussi
social
une économie qui
resilience.
croît. Mais l'économie qui croît sans
You need
la
economic growth,
solidarité,
of
la
course,
résilience
but if you
sociale,
don't
c'est pas
have
suffisant.
social
Les deux
resilience
faces de la même
and solidarity,
médaille
then that's
doivent,
not enough. These are like two sides of the same coin, and they
aller
need
ensemble.
to
Alors,
they
je
need to
pense
go
que
hand in hand. They need to
tout
go
ce que
together.
l'économie sociale peut faire dans la
I think
croissance
that,
a une dimension de résilience.
What
Si on
social
veut
economy,
voir
the contribution of social economy to
entreprises de l'économie sociale
growth
ont plus
is
résilience
automatically
que
part
les
of
autres.
social resilience.
Il y en a
Social
qui meurent,
economy
malheureusement.
has
Il y en
shown
a
itself to
beaucoup
be more
qui
resilient.
cherchent
Yes, there have been some
trouver des
companies in the
solutions pour
social economy
maintenir
sector
l'occupation
that
matérielle. Et je pense
have
que
had to
cette
close
dimension
down,
de
but generally
résilience
they're more
sociale
resilient.
doit être
And social
come dire,
resilience
immessa, doit entrer aussi dans la transition digitale
should be seen as part
green.
also of
Je
the
ne peux pas
twin
imaginer une
transitions, the
transition
digital and
green
green
qui
transition. You
va
can't have a
avant,
green
qui fait des
transition.
bonnes
I can't
choses,
imagine a green
sans créer
transition
une résilience du système dans
without
lequel on est.
resilience.
C'est pas seulement environment,
Because it's
c'est
not
la
just the
qualité de la vie
environment,
dans
it's
l'environnement.
the quality
Et
of
je
our
pense qu'il y a aussi
lives
la possibilité
within
les
the
communautés,
environment that we live
communautés
in.
énergétiques prendre le modèle participatif, coopératif,
The energy
ensemble
community is
que
taking on board
l'économie
the
sociale a et
participative
porte ça
model.
et amène ça dans la transformation
And
énergétique.
could
Donc,
include that
je
in
vois
the
une
energy
ligne.
transition.
Aussi
That's
pour la-
feeding
pour
into
la-
the
le
energy
digital,
transition.
non?
So there are links,
Aujourd'hui,
I think.
beaucoup de nous ont besoin de la transformation digitale.
The digital transition,
je-
we need
je-
the digital
cherche d'apprendre.
transition. It's something that we're all
Mais
trying to
On a
learn
toujours
and
un
adapt
petit peu de
to.
méfiance, si dit, le
But
contraire de
perhaps,
confiance. Méfiance. Alors je
people
pense que si
distrust
le
it a
monde
bit.
de la
We all
coopération de
distrust it a
l'entreprise
bit.
sociale, qui a
But,
toujours l'idée
cooperative,
de l'homme,
social
des droits
economy,
à respecter, non?
which
La
puts humans
réalisation
at the
d'un
center
travail décent.
of everything, the idea of
S'ils
decent
prennent
work,
cet
the
engagement dans
idea
le
of the
digital qui est
human-centric
nécessaire,
approach.
indispensable.
And
Mais
if
s'ils le prennent
we
aussi comme une
make
occasion pour démontrer qu'on
sure
peut
that
faire
that is part of the
une
digital
digital
transition as
transformation
well,
qui
you can have a
respecte
digital
les droits,
transition
non
which
pas la technique
respects
sur l'homme, mais
human
l'homme sur
rights.
la
It's not an
technique,
imposition
quelquefois.
of technology
Donc je fais
on
confiance.
human beings. It's
Et
human beings
regardez,
guiding
dans
and using
notre
technology.
législation digital market,
In our legislation on
les
the digital
différentes règles
market,
Digital
the
Services
various,
Act,
the Digital
Data Act,
Services
tout
Act,
ça.
the Data
On a
Act, the
prévu
pieces of
qu'il
legislation
y
that we
a des
have.
organisations pas de profit qui peut gérer
Non-profit
les données
organizations
que je produis quand je me
can
promène dans ma
also,
ville, je prends un
manage,
transport et tout ça. Non?
Data,
En
the
futur,
kind
je
of data
devrais
that is
donner
collected
la
whenever I
responsabilité
move
de gérer
around,
mes
whenever I
actes,
take a
mes
piece of
données à
transport,
quelqu'un,
whenever I
à des
use
organisations.
transport.
Donc je vois ici un grand espace, une grande
So
possibilité
there
pour
is
l'économie
a
sociale,
lot
pour être un sujet
of,
actif,
I think that there are a lot of options
aussi dans
for
sa
the social economy.
dimension, pas pour les profits, mais pour le travail et tout ça.
Non-profit,
Donc je pense vraiment, on dit
thinking
toujours,
about decent
Next
work
Generation
rather than
a deux
capitalism.
piles.
Next Generation
l'énergétique,
has two pillars, of course. That's something that people
green
keep saying. There's
transformation,
the
green et
green
digital transformation.
and the
Mais il y a
digital
un
transition. But there
troisième
is
pile,
actually a
que c'est l'inclusion
third
sociale.
transition, which is
Donc
social
vous avez quelque chose à
inclusion.
dire à ce propos.
And I imagine
Donc,
that
les
you'd
trois
have something to
doivent,
say about that, wouldn't
procéder
you? And I think
ensemble.
that these
J'ai vraiment
three
confiance qu'il y a un
transitions
rôle
should go
spécifique.
hand in hand.
Mais il y a aussi des nécessités que les institutions
I think the
doivent
social economy has a very specific role
aider
to
à,
play. Obviously, the
comment dire, à
institutions
compléter, par
should
exemple,
help
la
social economy,
formation,
the social
on a
economy
dit,
to
les
fulfill its
instruments
role
financiers.
through training, for
Nous
example,
demandons, nous,
financial
institutions, demandons beaucoup au monde
instruments.
de l'économie sociale, mais on doit dire
As
qu'on doit faire
institutions are
quelque
asking
chose.
for a lot from the
Des
social economy,
instruments,
but we need to do
des
something.
aides spécifiques.
We need to do something
Quelquefois,
in
on doit
exchange, don't
dire,
we?
on
This
doit
kind of
comparer,
specific aid that
si
we
dice,
can give.
de faire comparaison
think it's important
parmi les contributions
to
que les États membres et
compare
l'Europe
and to-
a données à
to
l'économie réelle
compare the
et on a fait bien fait
contributions
à
made
l'économie
by
manufacturière
member
et tout ça.
states to
Ça, c'est une
to other sectors of the
dimension.
economy,
Et
manufacturing,
qu'est-ce qu'on a fait pour l'autre
etc.
économie
But what about the other economy?
qui a des employés, qui
The social
participent à la
economy, which also
croissance.
has
Donc,
employees
je
and
pense
is
que
also part
la
of
bilance,
growth.
balance,
If you
c'est
compare
un
the
peu comme ça.
two, it's
Donc, on
not
doit
really equal,
faire
is
un
it?
petit
And I
peu
think that we need to do something to
qualité aussi,
redress
équité
that
aussi dans
balance.
ce-
There
Donc,
needs to be
je
a
pense qu'il y
redressing
a
of
une
that
grande
balance
possibilité, mais
there.
je
I
pense
think
aussi
that
qu'il
there
y a
are
une grande nécessité
opportunities,
de
but I
faire
think
des
that there's
choses pour
enormous need
gérer les
to
guerres,
do
qu'il y a
things
la compétence,
to bridge
les
this
instruments
gap,
financiers
to help with
et tout
skills,
ce
to
qui
have
peut aider
financial
cette,
instruments as well,
diciamo, cette transformation et cet engagement
to help with this
que je vois
transition,
comme une grande
this
possibilité pour toute
commitment and
l'économie
pledge, which I
européenne, et pas
think
seulement
is
pour
an
l'économie,
enormous
pour toute
opportunity,
l'économie
not just for the
européenne.
social economy, but for the whole of the European economy.
I fully agree. Thank you so much for your time and also for your work. You know, I think what you have mentioned here is things like closing the digital divide, increasing digital literacy, and certainly these activities are something that the social economy has a social license to operate in. You know, we are set up to work in that way. So I think we've taken your points on board, and we're also very, very grateful for your work at the Interreg Group. Thank you so much, MEP Toya. So, colleagues, we've heard from the Commission, we've heard from the Parliament, but we've heard from some pledgers. I'm sure you've all got something to say. Why don't we pull up Mentimeter for a moment and understand or get an idea about what you think about the word transition is. You can either click on this lovely QR code, but if we move to the next slide, you'll find the first question. You can go to menti.com, please, and insert the code above. And we have a question for you. And as you log in, you can start to think about your answer. What do we think about the word transition? When we think about this, when we've heard about Mr. Breton refer to the large industrial ecosystems, the 14 of them that range from energy, chemicals, agri-food, and our precious social economy. We've heard how important, for example, that the green and the digital transition are to ensuring that we are fit for future, that we're not just serving the social economy but polluting at the same time, and we're not just serving the social economy by reinventing wheels all the time. We need to be able to scale to deliver our impact. Let's see, change. Fantastic. I so agree. Intergenerational, better, sustainable, inclusivity. That keeps coming up. I love how MEP Toya was talking about that digital divide. And also, do you feel sometimes a sense of responsibility in the social economy for our role as we introduce new ideas and ideals into our market? How careful we have to be. Just what we know from the digital revolution of the past and how unintentional bias came into our coding because we weren't thoughtful of other languages, cultures, ethnicities, genders, and actors outside the classical economy. Progress, democracy, evolution. This is something we all want to sign up and be part of, right? I think it's a fantastic idea from the Commission to launch the idea of the twin transition in this pathway. Resilience, collaboration, metamorphosis, circular economy, invention, freedom of enterprise. Fantastic. What's our next question, colleagues? Let's put it up. What do you want to know? So we're here bringing you different actors, and we're here bringing you policymakers and advisors. You've been quite involved in this process until now. If you were part of the 6,000 practitioners that were contributing at OASIS at the EU Social Economy Summit, or if you were involved in the workshops earlier this year. But we don't have all of you. What do you want to know about this? What opportunities does it present? What does it really mean for social enterprises? Do you mean, does it make our life easier? Does it make our access to financing easier? Do we have better conditions when we go for loans, perhaps no interest loans? What are the investments and what are the actions for pedagogy? Perfect. how to not leave SMEs behind. Great point about just transition. And let's also think geographically. Let's also think about the differences that we have between different parts of Europe, east and west, north and south. How can social startups contribute? What are the concrete actions and opportunities? Great questions. Over the course of the night, we're going to see if we can answer some of these questions. We're going to try and answer them through some of our colleagues from the Commission and also from some of our colleagues who are active in the market. Let's see how close we can get by the end of the night. And I especially love your point here about being concrete. Later tonight, we're going to talk about smart pledges. Measurable, time-bound, specific. Just like the examples that Agnes and Manuel gave in terms of we will do this many actions in this amount of time with this many people looking to create that impact. So before I asked, how can we make our lives, how can this make our lives a little bit easier in the social economy? And I think one of the key actions here is about financing. We heard Mr. Breton talk about large funds that can be made available, both for the transition as it relates to sustainability, as well as digital. And I guess there's also the private sector that engages in this way too. Why don't we find out from Panos, our colleague who's come here from Greece and has a variety of examples. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Panos is joining us here, as I mentioned, from Greece, who is joining us here from the Cooperative Bank of Karitsa, which I've heard is the reason why we've had such fantastic weather, because Panos has been here for 2 days with us in Brussels. And you've been really quite key in being able to mobilize as a private sector, being able to mobilize and enable financing for organizations in your region move forward. So as some of the questions before asked for concrete and enabling questions, let's find out from this example what we can learn more. First of all, Panos, before we start, could you just tell us a little bit exactly about who you are and the orientation of your bank?
Yes, hi, thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be here. I'm Panos Tournavitis. I am the CEO of Cooperative Bank of Karditsa. Bank of Karditsa is a medium-sized cooperative bank that operates in central Greece, in the region of Thessaly. And our main focus is small enterprises, farmers, self-employment people. We operate for 25 years and we are very active in the social economy and also in the social economy environment. And I'm also a member in the board of directors of FEBEA, the Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks, that we represent 26 banks all over Europe.
Mm-hmm. And Karitsa, you were telling me before the orientation, what do we think Karitsa means and how does this relate to the heart?
Well, Karditsa actually means, because we are located in the center of Greece, comes from the same word as heart means in Greece. So we are located in the central and we have the same root as heart. So
probably the most romantic banker I've ever met. It's fabulous. But let's draw that down a little bit further in terms of heart. I mean, the Karitsa ecosystem works within a wider ecosystem, such as the Chamber of Commerce on one side and startups as the other. You say that your ecosystem brings a strong element for resilience and the local regenerative economy. Could you tell us a little bit more about what ethical banking during this time of crisis has meant to contribute to pro-social business?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's true that in the region of Karditsa, where we operate, we have achieved something unique, not only for Greek reality, but I would dare to say even for EU standards. We have managed to create an ecosystem that consists of many enterprises, social enterprises and cooperatives in different aspects of financial life. And it has two main arms that support it. The first arm is the financial, of course, the Cooperative Bank of Karditsa, where we leverage local capital and public funding. And the other is the development agency of Karditsa, which has many roles, from incubator for startups to business development provider for, I would say, for established ones and entrepreneurs, to even point of liaison for projects regarding migrants and refugees. So we have also a very close collaboration with the universities, public authorities, and the local government bodies, such as the Chamber of Commerce that you have already said, that are very supportive. And what we have managed is actually to create a task force that we frequently sit under a table and we discuss various elements, all the stakeholders we get together, and we can frequently exchange and design based on inputs from all of the members. So we help us very much to identify new potentials as we can see opportunities and challenges under many different angles and perspectives. So regarding ethical banking, indeed it has shown incredible resilience in times of crisis, having gone through the financial crisis, the sovereign debt crisis, and the economic crisis that followed, and latest the COVID crisis. All these crises actually strengthened ethical banks, which actually didn't suffer much of the effects of different crises, and actually continued to grow in lending, deposits, and profitability despite the different crises that we faced. The case in Greece is a really paradigmatic one in this regard, given the enormous negative effect and impact we had in financial crisis, the financial crisis had in our country, and yet our bank, Bank of Karditsa, came out of it stronger, increasing its activities, increasing its market share, and being one of a few in Greece that did not have to be saved by public money. So it is actually, crisis has also validated the ethical banking model and its approach of being close to citizens, of supporting only the real economy and the social economy, of maintaining close relationships with its clients when things get tough and being there to support them. In the case of Bank of Karditsa, this resilience was not only tested by the man-made crisis, but also by the effect, probably one of the biggest crises of which it was climate change. The Karditsa region was heavily impacted by floods 2 years ago, and the Bank of Karditsa was once more there to support its clients in times of difficulty. So the social and environmental approach of ethical banks that limits their activity voluntarily, I would say, to activities that improve society and the environment has probably been the best protection to external crisis. Not participating in stock market trading, in speculative or harmful activities, has actually benefited ethical banks and helped them to grow. So this successful approach is clearly backed by the data, because it's good to do the talking, but you have to do the walking. So ethical banks invested on average 73% of total assets in loans directed to the real economy, compared to 37% of mainstream banks. This is almost double the figure. Ethical banks had an average return on equity of 5.24 compared to 2.43% of mainstream banks. That's also more than double. Ethical banks had 0.4 return on assets versus 0.17% of mainstream banks, which is also more than double. So in times of crisis, in 2009, for example, for the COVID pandemic, ethical banks grew in assets by 15% compared to 8% of the mainstream banks.
This is fantastic. It really shows that the social economy pays. You know, I think so often our sector has been marred by welfare tainting, or the idea of being not interested in loans. And I think what you and your colleagues in ethical banking have really done, have not just empowered, but also shown the opportunity of what the social economy can do. During the Mannheim Summit, we heard over and over how during times when the classical economy is going down, it is always the social economy that is rising and growing in the time when the classical economy essentially tanks. And I think this is interesting that you can show it from a financial and a lending perspective as well. And this is what we need subsequently, is access to more affordable and reasonable and relevant and matched financing for the needs that we have in the social economy. There isn't always the same sort of asset base that the classical economy borrower will have. Panos, you've mentioned also earlier in our discussions how you've been able to even invest in some organisations which are related to the green and the digital transition, and this has also been an area of innovation for you at the bank. Could you tell us about some of these examples, please?
Yes. Our clientele, as I said earlier, by vast majority consists of very small enterprises, self-employed professionals, small farmers and farming cooperatives. So,
Farmers, yes.
yes. So these are the typical examples of a client we have supported all these years that we operate. And by telling support, I don't only mean the financial assistance provided to them, but we also participate in initiatives trying to further evolve and help them based on the inputs we receive from our partners in our ecosystem. And giving an example, we discussed earlier about the challenges that farmers are facing regarding the climate change and the high energy costs and all this. With many farmers having neither the guarantees nor the credit history to secure credit approval, there was a need to find an alternative credit rating method to assess the real risk for potential borrowers, especially for long-term investments. So through a project that we participated, naming Credit Score, which was partially public funded, we have developed a digital platform which fills this gap and provides the appropriate tools to better assess risk on the farming sector, as well as to reduce the asymmetry of information while strengthening the transparency between the bank and the potential borrower. Through this platform, a complete profile of each farmer can be developed on the basis of the historical and current crop yield, short and long-term climate risk, and weather hazards affecting final crop performance. So this platform combines the use of real-time satellite observation, seasonal weather forecasts, climate projections, and market data to deliver accurate projections of the future farmers' income, while managing to capture fully the climate variability and provide unbiased estimates of future yields and agricultural income. We think that this is a very important tool towards the digitalization of modern farming, and if you combine that with the smart farming practices, you can see the added value not only for the bank but also for the farmers, because we are able to provide them with a way to better understand risk and give them a very early heads up to their future needs and challenges. So also over the last 5 years, we have disbursed more than 40 million euros in projects related to house energy efficient improvement, net metering installation in the farming facilities, funding of renewable energy projects such as hydro stations and solar park. So in general, we have a very large part of our total assets invested in the green economy, and we are also very supportive to initiatives regarding smart farming.
This is fantastic. It touches my heart when you contribute into agri-food systems. Thank you so much. You know, I think there's also a social return in there as well, because then the return from farming and agriculture, you were saying these are corn products and cotton products. It relates also to the commercial viability of the region, nutritional self-sufficiency as it relates to crop and return to local enterprise, and as well as jobs, employment, and other opportunities within the sector. Thank you so much. Febea, let's just turn for a minute from your bank to your other side hustle at Febea. Could you tell us what is it and what are you looking to achieve?
Yes, Febea as an organization represents ethical banks and wants to achieve 3 main objectives: visibility, impact, and development. Visibility for the work of ethical banks, which is a virtuous banking model that actually represents the future of banking already today. This ethical banking model focuses resources only on things that matter: the real economy, local economy, circular economy, sustainable activities such as green energy and agriculture, social economy, and any activity that promotes social inclusion. The more this model is known and imitated, the better we can build sustainable and inclusive societies and economies that work for citizens. All the activities of an ethical bank are directed by its social impact, and it's very important that we have this participatory model in our banks, and we also have a very good collaboration with partners in regional, national, and even European level. And this active collaboration with public authorities is also a defining characteristic of ethical bank. Our mission often aligns with public policies on sustainability, inclusion, and development of the social economy. Our financial resources complement public funding with much needed finance that multiplies the effects of public policies. This unique approach that multiplies the impact of public policies and our own social impact still has, I believe, great potential to be further developed. European programs such as InvestEU actually materialize this type of virtuous collaboration by allowing ethical banks to invest more on social, more on green, thanks to the guarantees provided by the EU, having a clear multiplication effect in the market and making more resources available to the social, sustainable, and green economy. Still, there are a lot to be done, and we can take one inspiration from outside Europe. Biden administration, on one of its flagship initiatives, invested 8.7 billion in the capital of community development, financial institutions, and minority depository institutions, with the goal of increased lending to small and minority-based businesses and low to moderate income consumers in underserved rural, urban, and native communities. I would like you all to imagine just for a second the effect that such an initiative, what we could achieve through the ethical and sustainable banks in Europe if we have a similar investment to them, and how much further we could boost social economy and the green and inclusive transition.
Very good, Panos. It sounds like a call to action almost for us here in return, right? In terms of investing in the small.
Exactly.
Great example of a very specific and targeted investment work. Look, thank you so much for your work at the Bank of Karica.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Also at FABEA.
Thank you very much.
So there's more examples. We've got more ideas on how this works. I'd love to call our phenomenal panel up, please. Norman from the Dublin City Council, Anna, Maya, and Jean. We're going to now have a panel of 4 experts that are joining us from Finland and Ireland and Germany and France that are going to speak very specifically about projects that they've done that relate to social economy development, and specifically what it's meant for example, improving digital skills or digital investment, or, for example, sustainability skills and sustainability development. It feels a bit like musical chairs for a moment, doesn't it? Perfectly, you're in touch. So we've just heard from our banking colleague about how bankers, for example, can invest in land-based systems. And it really made me think, Maya, of your work at the Metsä Group and how, for example, your company actually is the inverse of the method that we heard from our banking colleague. You have 100,000 forest owners that are actively invested or stakeholders in your company at the Metsä Group. Could you tell us the inverse version of what we've just heard from banking, please? What's it like having forest owners as your major stakeholders?
Yes, it's my pleasure to be here, and really, really big thanks to all the presenters so far. I come from Finland, and I represent Metsä Group, which is, as you said, our parent company is owned by almost 100,000 Finnish forest owners. And Anna actually just asked me here before the event started that what's the percentage of Finnish forest owners that we have in our cooperative. But in Finland we have almost 600,000 forest owners. And imagine we are only about a bit more than 5 million people, so about 40% of all Finnish people own forests. But we have about 1/6 of that amount Finnish forest owners that are in our parent company in Metsäliitto Cooperative. I've been working for Metsä for about a year, and before that I worked for a startup. And it has been really, really exciting. Metsä Group has 5 different business areas, and then we have an innovation company called Metsä Spring. We produce, the core of our business is really to bring sustainable added value to northern wood, and also to promote the well-being of forests on a long term. And our business areas produce actually various products from the northern food, ranging from cardboard to tissue papers to wooden construction elements. And then we also have a very, very important business area to us is Metsä Forest, which offers forest management services for the forest owners. And what I really like in our community is that we have different kind of people, and we have a constant dialogue also, like with the forest owners in our community. And I think it gives us a specific value also to all our business, and this kind of a long-term perspective. And one thing I would also like to mention, my background is, well, my long background is in chemistry. Quite a long time ago I did a PhD in chemistry, but for about more than 12 years I've been working with circular economy, climate, sustainability. And at Metsä Group we are more than 9,000 people working at Metsä Group, and each and every one of us has at least one personal annual target which is related to sustainability. So really think that it's like sustainability is not just something extra to our business, it's really in the core of our business, and we want that every employee is involved.
Would you like to share your target?
I don't think I can. Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. Maya, that's a great example of a very physical output as such, in terms of forest owners being those major shareholders of your company that's producing paper products. I guess the inverse of that, I think of Anna, I think of your work at the Accelerator. So you're working with startups, and you were saying that some 80 to 90% of the social entrepreneurial startups that you're all working with are looking at things like softwares as a solution. It's almost like that meta, or that very digital version, literally a world away from trees and absolutely in the cloud. Could you tell us what are you doing there at the Accelerator, and how are so many social enterprises actually starting with digital-based solutions?
Yeah, well, so my name is Anna. I'm from Freiburg here in Germany. I'm representing 2 accelerators. One is the Smart Green Accelerator in Freiburg that's looking at helping green tech founders to scale their businesses and enable an economy for us within the planetary boundaries. And then the other one is the Social Innovation Lab in Freiburg, who is helping social entrepreneurs. So the digital and services and the software-based products, I was referring to the green tech ones. In the social entrepreneurs, I would say it's not as many that are software-based, but of course that is something that is very easy for people coming from university, coming from schools, who want to be entrepreneurs. And I feel that there is a drive, and is rising in young Europeans, to start their own business, to work for themselves, to create a culture and an organization in which they want to work and work with friends. So we see that, and of course the digital business models are somewhat easy to access, to play and to try things. That's why we see a lot of that happening. And we have some interesting crossovers also between the green and the social sphere, where we have, for example, a startup. They have a software tool, it's called Good Balancer, and it is based on the common goods matrix. And so it enables SMEs to measure their journey, where they are on their sustainability journey, and how they can improve. And it's software-based, and it is useful for both the social and the green startups in our network, and we're trying to, well, help them get exposition to those tools and frameworks as well.
That's very concrete. I mean, Norman, it makes me think of you. When I met you, you said that you're an intrapreneur inside the Dublin City Council. So you literally live this startup world on one side in your own mind, trying to sell the value proposition within the Dublin City Council of supporting social economy. And on the other side, I understand you are also bringing tools to the social economy in Dublin to enable it to grow. Could you tell us more about that, please?
Sure. So hello everybody, and thanks so much for the invitation. Delighted to be here to represent Dublin City Council, and also really to represent the many municipalities, the many city councils and county councils that fed into the process and that have been involved with the European Social Economy Regions project. So yeah, as Alyssa said, I'm involved with a few different projects around trying to help our local social economy develop, and I'm very lucky. Within our small team, we try to take a very entrepreneurial approach, and I think in some ways we mirror the social enterprises that we're trying to help, because we see them being quite agile and everything, and so we try then to be agile back in terms of the supports and resources we make available to them. Then I might just share an example about an event that we did, which I think was quite entrepreneurial. And the beauty of this event is it was actually inspired by our participation in the European Social Economy Regions project. And I think that's a big help to us in Dublin City Council in our context, how we're scanning the European horizon to see, well, what's on the policy landscape, what's on the initiative, and we're also scanning our local horizon to find out, well, what are the kind of needs on the ground. And so we identified there's a really strong overlap, very similar to what Anna said, between the circular economy and the social economy. And so we came up with an idea to try and bring about a really big event to take the social enterprises and the sustainable businesses in Dublin from the background, because I don't know what it's like in your context, but in Dublin, the social economy is occupying a smaller space. And oftentimes these people, the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the real heroes, the real experts, they're doing fantastic stuff, but it's in the background. And so we wanted to organize a big event to bring them to the foreground. But also, very importantly, we wanted to bring as many big businesses, we wanted to bring government officials there and highlight these local social enterprises, these local circular enterprises, and say to the big businesses, these are on your doorstep, you can start buying from them, you can start supporting them, you can start learning about them. And that event was called So Circular, and it was all about trying to celebrate the social and the circular economy and really supercharge both. And I think incidentally, it aligns very nicely with the transition pathway, specifically Action 1, which is all about trying to initiate collaboration between mainstream business sector and also the social economy, and also to try to bring about more circular economy initiatives and everything. Hopefully that's adequate response for now.
That is more than adequate. Thank you so much. I love how you mentioned exactly the transition pathway. Now, Jean, you've been part of the process for the last 2 years. I mean, many of you have been active in this process. Thank you very much for your service. Something that I really understood from you and your work in social tech was that you were saying that there's not often so many tools available specifically for the social sector, and also that there are risks and difficulties involved when they want to do the leap into the digital transition, things like complexities around GDPR. Could you tell us about your thoughts about the tech available to the social economy and ideas that you have for it?
Of course. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm more here as a spokesperson, really, than an expert, because we were allowed to work on this transition pathway roadmap, so thank you to you all. Back to the Social Good Accelerator maybe story, because we aim to answer your question, in fact. We were born, in fact, at Web Summit, which is a typical digital Irish product, maybe, held in Lisbon. Portugal is one of our social economy champion, I think, in Europe, very mature ecosystem. So we were born because we thought there was a blind spot with the digital transition for social economy. And we find out also there was a forces division. So we had to build a European community. First, we thought in between tech organizations like tech corporations and social economy ecosystem. But then we found out we had our own digital champions within social economy. And that's what we call social tech. So it means non-profit or non-for-profits organization that choose courageously this kind of status to build their technology or their tech activity and answer social issues, right? You know a lot of social techs and facts. Maybe the most famous is Wikipedia. You know also about Mozilla, that started as a foundation. And we heard a lot about Mastodon lately because of the Twitter situation, right? All of them are non-profits. So it's interesting to see there is this division in between tech organization within social economy and the other side, the majority of the troops that are really struggling with their digital transition, and for several reasons, in fact. The first one is funding frameworks are not made to sustain systemic change. Mm-hmm. And in fact, digital transition is really complex, as you said. It's about cultural change, it's about upskilling, it's about, so it's a long road. And it's not sufficient to just fund projects now. You really have to fund the transformation of the organization. So this is one of the problem now. The other one is they really want to find a solution that are consistent with their own values. And for that reason, again, we have to make this community in between our social economy digital champions and the other majority of the troops. And for that, we really have to create commons. We have to lobby for a change in policies and funding frameworks. And we have also to pledge for more cooperation, which is maybe our superpower within social economy.
I hear a yes. I heard an amen from the group. Cooperation, I mean, that's exactly what many of you have also said when we met in the past week. Would you like to respond to Jean's point about how cooperation is something that makes us unique here in the social economy?
Yeah, I think we cannot make a transition without collaboration and co-creation. And I really agree with you, Norman, that there are so much similarities between circular economy and social economy. And within our company, even though we are like 9,000 people working at Metsä globally, all our production, though, is in Europe. And we procure actually more than 80% of our wood from Finland. But I think even though we are many people at Metsä, we still think that co-creation and collaboration are things that we constantly need more and more. We don't have the skills we need within Metsä Group. Even though we have wonderful people, we have also a wonderful cooperative, but we need people to collaborate with. For example, we have in one of our mills, or our mill site, one of our business areas, Metsä Board, has established an excellence center where Metsä Board's customers can come and design circular packaging. And they have actually these visual equipment and kind of very, very nice equipment to help them in designing and virtual technologies for designing things. So, and also the sustainability people there, the design people, and they have really made marvelous packaging solutions there, like in this collaborative excellence center. So they organize kind of workshops there.
I think just to follow on from my perspective, having worked in the regular enterprise development space before taking on some duties specifically focusing on social economy, we were so surprised at how collaborative everybody is. we were always suspicious. Like, why are everybody so friendly and not so edgy that you're going to steal my business idea or whatever? And so it was incredibly refreshing. And I think that's probably one of the greatest strengths and also one of the greatest points of potential for the social economy, this sense of collaboration, this openness to collaboration among the actors. And for us in Dublin, any of the big initiatives, the training, events, whatever it is, they've only succeeded because of extreme collaboration between us and many different actors in our context.
Extreme collaboration. It's an extreme sport now to work in the social economy. Does that resonate with you, Anna?
Very much so. So I think one of the playgrounds where we use collaboration a lot is for young companies to get in touch with established ones. That's one of the key pillars of our accelerator programs. Like we do strategic business model development. We work on the values that founders have and that they bring in. We try to get funding for them and help find networks to acquire funding. And then the third is really the matchmaking of finding a solution, an innovation that comes from a startup. And it often is greener, and it often is more inclusive or more social or more agile than what the established companies are used. And that is a great way of having a little playing field and a small risk and being able to test something out. And for the startup, it is extremely important to get in touch with the established companies, with all their resources, with the big networks, with the funds that they have, and well, just production facilities maybe, where they can try if that the solution that they had in their heads and in their sketchbooks actually works in a real market. So this is very, very important for us.
Our investing arm, so our company, innovation company, Metsä Spring, is investing in startups continuously. So probably you should ask some of your startups to collaborate. They are screening globally startups all the time. So far they have invested in 3 startups. And the idea is that the startups actually utilize some of our side streams and make novel products out of them. So so probably, we could collaborate after this.
It sounds good. And I think that the startups are probably always open to collaboration. They need to have it. But we talked about the established companies and someone like IKEA pledging and investing. And I think that's very good to have some positive examples to show where larger companies can either give money or they can help provide their customers and their networks, or maybe we also have a tool in Baden-Württemberg. It's a pre-seed funding, and so it is convertible, a convertible loan where you can either get your money back or you can get shares of the company. And as long as you get your money back, then you're neutral with it, but you still have all the business insights and you participate in the dynamics of the field. So I think that would also be very useful to show best practices of how established companies can get into collaboration with new ones.
Mm-hmm. That's a good example of extreme collaboration and then also return on investment. Jeanne, it makes me think a little bit about the Social Tech Atlas. Could you tell us about that and what it is as it relates to knowledge sharing?
It's really a work in progress. In fact, it's a prototype from now on, but we encourage all of you to nurture, to give data and to enhance it. We aim to map social tech organizations in Europe to help them build cooperations, partnerships, go seek European fundings, because you have this consortia dynamic, it's mandatory, but it's sometimes hard to find partners in other countries. And I think there is a lot to do in between accelerators or incubators, because a lot of solutions are going in the same way. And yeah, so we are trying to build this cooperation in the digital pathway, and especially maybe to reach the digital compass goals. I want to go back to our maybe main objective. It's about skills, and 2023 will be the European year about skills. And it's really the first step for social economy. Again, we have digital champions. So we have a lot of social organizations that are already training people, sometimes very far from employment, or women, or deprived people in basic digital skills or on a professional path. And it's very important to say we have a really important role to play in these objectives of the digital compass, about skills and also about reaching the goals on the digitalization of the public services, because from now on it leaves a lot of people apart from the digital transition. And apart from their basic rights. So again, social economy is a link in between these people and digital transition. And we have really to upskill the ecosystem to reach all together these amazing digital goals from European Commission. And the role of cooperation with public services is very important in that respect. So.
Absolutely, and I think for us, like in Dublin City Council's perspective, we acknowledge that we have a really unique role as a matchmaker and as a leader. We don't claim to be an expert, we acknowledge that the experts are those heroes on the ground, the social economy actors, the social enterprise and so on, but we do have a really unique role to lead or stimulate collaboration. And also, slightly different example of collaboration that we try to do is we try to nudge some of the local social enterprises. And what I mean by that is very particularly around mini procurement or mini sales. I'm sure we can all agree sometimes procurement can be a little bit complicated, especially for social enterprises that are so busy and limited with capacity. And so in terms of our collaboration with some of the local social enterprises in Dublin, we try to nudge them and encourage them to think what kind of service they could sell to us as a public authority in a very small way. So we're nowhere near public procurement thresholds. We're just in a very nice little kind of paddling pool where they can dip their foot in. And so, for example, what we've previously done, we've commissioned local social enterprises to provide food, like catering at events. We have commissioned a social enterprise to provide beer, a social enterprise beer company to provide beer for us. We've, do you have a beer company, social enterprise? Is there someone? I thought someone was clapping. They have a social enterprise beer for us.
We all understand what you're doing. You wanted to buy beer and then you legitimized it with the social economy.
But aside from that, we also commissioned local social enterprises to produce trophies. We run a scheme called the Dublin City Social Enterprise Awards, which is a very targeted intervention specifically around trying to help social enterprises start and develop in Dublin. It started off as a very somewhat mundane scheme, but over time we tried to add a brand, add a lot of prestige, and we also added a nice trophy, a physical trophy. We're a little bit tired of crystal trophies. I don't know how it is in your context. And we thought there's a lot more potential. And so we decided let's commission local social enterprises to produce bespoke, sustainable trophies made using reusable materials. And these trophies have a really beautiful story to tell when they're given to the social enterprises, because often we invite the makers who are from social enterprises. They're typically service users. It could be recovering addicts, or they could be someone who's from a disadvantaged situation. They've made this trophy. We invite them to come to the ceremony and just to see this wonderful moment when they see the trophy that they've made as part of a social enterprise is being given to another social enterprise to honor the great work that they're doing. So I would just encourage you to think about how you can set up little paddling pools for social enterprises within your different spheres to make a trophy or to provide food or whatever it is, or to provide digital services. That is another thing. We've nudged social enterprises to provide videography services for us in the past. And so I think the role for public authorities, for municipalities, is really unique, and we can do a lot more than sometimes we maybe think in just being a catalyst for that first kind of step into selling to a public authority and then building the confidence of the social enterprise to think, oh wow, we've just sold a service or a product to Dublin City Council. Perhaps we can sell to other government departments, or perhaps we can sell to other big businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We have heard today a lot about digital ecosystems and digital platforms. I often think that in an ideal circular economy, we would have like the flows of data, material, energy, even the value optimized on a system level. And we, as a big industrial actor, we actually have a mill in the center of Finland, which is based on a unique ecosystem concept, which means that the main product of the mill is pulp. But then, I don't know how familiar you are with pulping process, but you get a lot of side streams. Anna, you are, because you're a chemist.
Well,
yes, you get a lot of side streams. And then in this industrial ecosystem, the idea is that we have a lot of partners who then can come and join us in the industrial site and start refining some of the side streams. So that's also a means how we can integrate and offer something for smaller companies as well, because we have this kind of a ecosystem. Of course, there are data flows as well, but now I'm talking about energy and material flows too. So, and now we are building actually another bioproduct mill on the same ecosystem concept in a bit northern Finland. It will be ready next year. But this has been really, really a nice way for us to work, this kind of industrial ecosystem building. And of course, then it brings you a lot of environmental benefits as well, because then you can have these industrial symbiosis benefits. So I really like to talk about, probably it depends because I'm a chemical engineering by my background, so kind of a slow flows of energy, data, material, probably flows of people as well. I was going to ask from you, Anna, do you also offer for your startups like training and skills development, and do you also help them to follow the EU policies, for example? Because I said that I used to work for a startup before I joined Metsä Group, and in that startup we were developing new materials. If you develop new materials, you have to follow the EU policies as well.
So the first part of your question, yes, skills, definitely, entrepreneurial skills, but also like team, personality, building of an organization. Then we have those skills around sustainability accounting that we also try to incorporate more into our work, so that the Green Tech Accelerator couldn't just be shifted away to, say, weapon production, and now we do that. So we want to do something that is, of course, very specific to green and sustainable entrepreneurs. Regarding the policy and regulation aspect, we don't yet do that so much. I guess it's probably beyond our scope, but we have, I think it makes sense to be very aligned with different verticals. And for example, we have in Germany, the DENA is an association for decentralized renewable energy, and they do just that. For the German law, they take care of startups, they take them to people in the government and have them ask their questions and inform them about the task force results and everything. And it probably makes sense to do that very aligned with different domains of the industry. I don't think we, as a relatively small team, could do it for the whole width and breadth of green tech, but we would need a network to help us do that, definitely.
Well, lucky we're here at the Transition Pathway Kickoff. I think that's exactly what we've been tasked to do. Colleagues, thank you so much for your time and also your contribution to the pathway going forward, and also being practitioners in the field who seem to be very expert in the things that you're already doing. But listening to you already in the last week, I hear how you listen from each other, and you're constantly picking up new ideas and bringing them forward. Thank you so much for your time. Please, colleagues.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more exciting opportunity, and this is actually the time where you're all involved. We've heard today from Commissioner Breton about the framework that's been set, the policy enablement, the funding, the mechanisms, and also the expectations of us as a market to respond. We've heard from MEP Toya talk about the detailed consultations and negotiations that have to happen in the back room to ensure that resilience is really at the forefront and that we have the social license to operate in the way that we're expecting. We've heard from practitioners on how we can go from pulping mill extracts and wastes through to global atlases of sharing good methodologies. And we've also heard from Dublin City Council how sometimes it's always the little paddling pools where good ideas can be first started before they're scaled. So Anna, I think it's time we should get an idea from the rest of the group about what there is to pledge. I'd love to invite Anna up to the stage here. You probably know her. Thank you. Head of Unit here at DG Grow for Proximity and Social Economy. Please take a position and tell us, Anna, you wanted us to come here today to pledge. And we'd like to understand, what does it necessarily mean to pledge into this pathway, and what are your expectations?
So the easy question then is for me. That's nice. I was waiting for that slide. Not so much because we need to see words, because I'm thrilled at this point, not because we arrive at the end of it, but because for us it's the beginning. And also because I'm grateful to all those who have spoken so far. I found the panel more than inspiring because you have put the faces and the actions behind those words. And I don't really have much to say, but I will nonetheless try to take us through the motion. So here you see distilled the 14 action areas of the transition pathway for the proximity and social economy. Those 14 action areas, behind them, when you discover in detail the text, the pathway, you will find 13 concrete actions. These are not action areas or actions that the Commission has decided as relevant for the social economy. No. You know, at least those of you who have participated in the co-creation process in this room and also watching online, that it's the result of a series of workshops, discussions, written contributions. We have reached out to more than 500 stakeholders. It's not a lot, but it's somehow representative, and we're grateful to each and all of them, each one of them and all of them together. So this is what collectively we think is relevant when we discuss the green and the digital for the social economy. What the needs are, where they may be, what the challenges may be, and where the opportunities may lie. So behind these 14 actions, in a way, you see a double perspective. On one hand, what the green and the digital transition may mean for the social economy as an industrial ecosystem, the needs, the challenges, the barriers and opportunities, but also concrete ways through which we can enable the actors of the social economy to deliver the transition more broadly in the economy and the society. And this double perspective, I think it's very unique to our ecosystem, to this industrial ecosystem, and to this transition pathway. And I think this would be, if you like, the measure of its success, not only to address and help you and those working on the ground to be more sustainable, to be greener in their operations, in the services they provide, and in the products, not only to mobilize investment for this type of social and green funding, not only to make the social economy actors more digitally matured, not only to make data as business asset for the social economy, but more importantly, all of that to contribute to enforcing and reinforcing the role of the social economy in the transition across the board as an economic actor, as part of the solution. So for us then, it's not the end of the process. It's a stop that we make to take stock of where we are. We're happy that we are not alone in this room. And it's the beginning of the next phase, a next phase that will take some time. It's not for tomorrow, it's not for the day after, It's really efforts that we need to pull together at all levels, actions from all the actors, the type of different actors we just heard discussing in this panel, private and public investment, public authorities, European level, national level, regional level, local level, startups, entrepreneurs, bigger industrial actors in the social economy ecosystem, all of us together to see where we can take the social economy between now and 2025, 2030, 2050. There is a way to go, but I think we can walk this way together. So this is why the result of this co-creation will be the object of co-implementation. Joining and pooling resources and action together. You heard the commissioner, he called for pledges. You will go to our website tonight, I was promised, or early tomorrow morning, and you will see an open call for pledges. Rolling call. The first cut-off date, it will be the end of February for us to be able to collect those first pledges. Alisa, earlier you said smart pledges. I would even say smarter. Smarter, why? Because there's always this additional dimension for this ecosystem, which is the social, the added value. And there, I think it would make the difference. But what smart would mean? We will try to help you in the process. And already there is some description and some information. But I think you already mentioned in the beginning, Alisa, it's about being concrete. What you can do in your organization, in your business, in your work, what you can do in relation to these action areas for the green, for the digital, how you will do it, how many people, businesses you will reach out, and by when. So it's a different way of thinking. And I think if each one of us thinks within our own context, this is what we want, to put all the pieces together and create a wave that we will call the transition pathway, a wave towards a greener, more resilient, more innovative, more digital social economy. I will stop here because we only heard 2 pledges, but maybe there's more.
I think there's more. Should we see? Should we find out?
I count on you.
Okay, all right. Let's see. You know, we said that there's some of us here in the room, but really there's about 400 of us participating tonight. So why don't we recognize our online colleagues, Anna, and see if our online colleague has just fallen offline. So is there a video that our online, excellent. With the magic wonders of digital technology, we would love to introduce you to our colleague from Spain, Iñigo from the Mondragon Corporation, to offer their pledge, Anna, which is specific, measurable, time-bound, and what they would like to contribute.
Mondragon wants to be an active player in climate transition to a decarbonized society, and we have important goals. To be carbon neutral in all our production facilities for 2030, 25% reduction of carbon footprint in our value chain, and to be net zero for 2050. And this all will be through different projects, but always with 3 clear pillars. 1, citizens, a proximity electricity generation cooperatives involving about 150,000 consumers. 2, industry, for covering the 30% of its electricity consumption with its own projects. And 3, technology, combining wind and solar technologies for having between 10 and 20% of total consumption in our communities. In the cooperatives, we have people as priority number 1. This is the core of our business model. And because of that, in Mondragon, we are developing a strategic people planning and action-based accelerating learning process to promote development and employability among worker members. Through active orientation, short, flexible and focused learning solutions and long-term and sustainable financing mechanism, we want to involve 10,000 people the following 10 years in digital and upskilling processes. On the other hand, we will develop a data knowledge sharing architectures in industrial environment for the cooperatives with collaborative artificial intelligence applications. But what does it mean? We will connect all our machinery with the machinery provided to our customers, so we could avoid stops in the assembly lines. And in this way, we will be able to avoid our maintenance technicians' trips, and we will also save time and money. And we will advance in predictive maintenance. And this all will create new opportunities for business development.
Very good. So, Anna, this was one more pledge. Do you think we should make a party out of it?
Well, yes, this has been so promising, so it only opened our appetite, no?
Okay, I agree. All right, Toby from the Euclid Network, Chloe from Group SOS, and Vanessa from the Ministry of Labour and Employment in Luxembourg. Would you please join us up here? Toby, Euclid Network, Chloe from Group SOS, and Vanessa from Luxembourg. Well, we said Anna would make a party out of it, right? Please take a seat. Excellent. Toby, please.
Cheers.
Right, so you've heard Anna's request. What would you like to share?
Yeah, thanks very much. I think, first of all, I'd like to start by just saying thank you to Anna and all the colleagues at DG Grow for this opportunity, and also all of the work which has gone into this transition pathway, because it's really been a long process, but it's been very inclusive as well. So Euclid Network, we're the European Social Enterprise Network, which means we're representing national associations for social enterprise. You can see some of you in the room, but of course other more specific organizations as well. Big part of what we do is European projects. This is a lot of traveling. So one of the things we're pledging to introduce is a policy on ethics for travel. This means about minimum distances and also durations we're going to require before we start flying around the place. We would also hope to introduce this by 2025. Another thing we're going to do, or which we already do, but we'll really start now, as I know the call on greening is open, is to support our members in accessing these calls, which are going to actually enable this transition to take place. This is through webinars and all the usual activities. And last but not least, we also have a Euclid Network Knowledge Center, where we host a lot of information and research knowledge outputs. And we're going to increase the amount of space and time and effort we put in putting green and digital topic content up on our Knowledge Center.
Ooh, fantastic. Woohoo! Thank you very much. These were concrete, they were time-bound, they were numbers. That's exactly what we're expecting from a Smart Pledge. All right, Chloe, what have you got?
Good evening. Thank you very much first to give Group SOS the opportunity to give our commitment for the green and digital transition. Our commitment for the green transition is to train 500 people in the creation of agroecological farms by 2025. That's the first one. The second one, our second commitment to the green transition is to facilitate the access to funding for stakeholders working in the green transition. And for example, and thanks to one of our association who developed an online crowdfunding platform, we will finance 400 projects that works for sustainable agriculture by 2025. And our commitment for the digital transition is to train 36,000 people lacking basic digital skills by 2025. And our last commitment for the digital transition is to improve the social inclusion of homeless people and through the digital technology. And at the Group SOS, we developed a digital tool which facilitates the storing of administrative documents for homeless people and into a digital safe. So it's an online safe. And we, at the Group SOS, we commit to make this digital safe accessible to more than 40,000 people by 2025.
Woo! Fantastic. Thank you so much. Vanessa, share with us your thoughts from Luxembourg, please.
So, as a curator for the transition pathway, I have been asked by the European Commission and Anna to say a few words on the initiatives in Luxembourg. So here we go. In order to foster the development of social economy in Luxembourg, with a view to preparing the green and digital transitions, we have launched a few projects. Amongst the most important ones are the following. Citizens, public authorities and investment communities tend to have a lower understanding about social economy as an alternative business model for the green and digital transition. That's why the Social Economy Gateway was launched a month ago in Luxembourg, which aims fast at raising awareness on social and solidarity economy among all the citizens in Luxembourg and in Europe, and also at international level. We have also launched a social business incubator in Luxembourg, which aims at offering capacity building to SSE companies. We are offering tailor-made support and trainings for social enterprises and social entrepreneurs at the beginning of their adventure. And finally, we understood that B2B cooperation is key. And at the request of the ministry, the Luxembourgish umbrella organization launched a cluster for enterprises involved in the social circular economy in Luxembourg, France, and Germany. We also established the Impact Luxembourg label, which is a means to give societal impact companies additional visibility until 2025. And in the near future, we also have a number of other important projects that are in the works. And I would like to stress out that we are working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Economy. For instance, we will be soon announcing a call for social innovative projects in Luxembourg. So I would like to encourage all of you to implement concrete actions in your countries. Spread the word. We as member state and you as stakeholders play a key role in implementing the transition pathway. And I strongly believe that implementing concrete actions at national levels will help foster the overall development of social and proximity economy in Europe and on a global level.
Amen. Woo! Anna, isn't it fantastic that we heard pledges that very specifically hit the different panels that you had up about the green and the digital transition, upskilling, investing, as it relates to agroecology, as it relates to knowledge, as knowledge products even. It's fantastic. Is this what you were looking for?
Yes, and it's only the start. And actually,
you want more? We have more.
Well, I'll stop then talking and I'll start listening more, please.
We have more colleagues online because remember, only some of us here in presence and we have some online. We have Mr. Didier joining us from Valo. Thank you.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je m'appelle Paul Didier, je suis coordinateur de projet au sein du groupe Valo qui est basé ici à Florange en Moselle. Je suis devant vous aujourd'hui pour vous parler du projet NewFlow. NewFlow, c'est un projet innovant qui vise à diviser par 2 le bilan carbone des chantiers, à améliorer la circularité des matériaux du bâtiment, à simplifier la vie des chefs de chantier et de leurs ouvriers, ainsi qu'à améliorer l'inclusion dans l'emploi de personnes qui en sont éloignées. Concrètement, NewFlow, c'est une plateforme de logistique chantier qui mutualise l'entrée des ressources et la sortie des déchets entre tous les chantiers d'anciennes friches industrielles qui sont transformées en écoquartiers à la frontière entre la France et le Luxembourg. En plus de cette plateforme physique, c'est aussi une plateforme numérique qui sert à commander des prestations ainsi qu'à améliorer le reporting réglementaire et le reporting RSE. C'est aussi une matériothèque, afin de pouvoir revendre des matériaux de seconde main issus de la construction et de la déconstruction. l'ensemble du projet avec des salariés en insertion que nous accompagnons et que nous formons afin de garantir leur sortie vers l'emploi durable. Le projet New Flow a d'ailleurs été labellisé Solar Impulse pour son innovation. Notre objectif aujourd'hui, c'est de réussir à faire travailler sur ce projet la France et le Luxembourg. Nous voulons créer un véritable démonstrateur du co-développement transfrontalier autour de l'économie circulaire et inclusive. Pour cela, nous avions besoin de l'engagement de tous les acteurs, même privés, à introduire des clauses sociales et environnementales dans leur marché. Collectivités territoriales, établissements publics, promoteurs, bailleurs, constructeurs, etc. Et nous l'avons fait cet été avec la signature du côté français d'une charte de l'économie circulaire et inclusive. Je suis devant vous aujourd'hui pour prendre deux engagements. Le premier, c'est de continuer à dialoguer et à travailler avec les acteurs du secteur du bâtiment afin de renforcer l'inclusivité et la circularité des chantiers. Le deuxième, c'est de continuer à mutualiser le travail entre tous les acteurs, notamment entre les deux pays français et luxembourgeois. C'est de nous continuer à nous engager résolument sur la voie d'un co-développement transfrontalier. Cela passera demain, notamment, par le dépôt d'un projet Interreg. Je vous remercie toutes et tous pour votre attention. Je vous dis bravo pour ce bel événement et à bientôt.
All right, we have one more pledge, and it's from a face that we all know and love. Victor, would you like to come forward, please? How could we have pledges for the social economy and not have our friends from Social Economy EU coming forward? Victor, what have you got to offer?
All right, so in 2021, we organized the first edition of the EU Social Economy Awards. We have some awardees in the room. NeedsMap, a platform cooperative that won on social innovation. SOGA was a finalist on digitalization and skills. The winner was Chequitas, basically doing upskilling and reskilling for people which do not have the digital competencies and can acquire them, particularly women far from the labor market. Our engagement is to repeat that every 2 years, also very much inspired by what Dublin does. Having a social economy award every 2 years to boost the visibility of social economy players active in social innovation, digital transition and skills, green transition and skills. Again, we had amazing winners in 2021. We will repeat it in 2023 in the framework of the Spanish presidency of the Council, in the beautiful city of San Sebastian in the Basque Country. We had 100 applications in 2021. Our objective is to go far beyond that. And also, we have a promise with those who won and were finalists in 2021, which is to have a publication, collecting all those innovative ideas so they can build links between them, so that they can be replicated, they can scale up, and so on and so forth, and they can inspire many Europeans. So that's our pledge.
Great idea. Thank you so much. Well, Anna, we could take that as if we're invited to the next party. What do you think, to celebrate some of the new awardees?
Well, first of all, I don't want to break this, but I love the words, but I would like to see them in writing. This is how we turn into action. And I'm really grateful for all that we heard today, online, in the room, all the participation and the positive energy. Let's put it on paper. That's why, please, call for pledges on our website. We will reach out to you with this information, but you can also proactively Google it. It's very easy to find. I tested it myself. There you will see what it means to submit a pledge. We try to make it the less bureaucratic, easier. We will also accompany you in the process. We plan to organize info sessions. And again, we will reach out to those interested to see how we can help you distill your pledge and present it in a way that it's meaningful. Why? Because this transition pathway is not ours, it's yours. So it's very important. We will facilitate, we will collect the pledges, we will see how we can federate cooperation of the different actors. We will monitor the progress together with you. We will be the honest broker. But the action will come from you. And of course, on the side of the Commission, you heard the Commissioner. You also know the commitment of Commissioner Schmidt, although he was not in the room. It was as if he was here. So I think on the side of the Commission, the commitment at the highest political level is there and the support is there. Why? Because I think we are convinced that, yes, the challenges are many, but social economy can be part of the answer, an answer to a more resilient future, more sustainable, more innovative, and a future that can take us to many, many ages for the future generations.
Fully agree. Thank you so much, Anna. Very, very good. Stay here. Thank you very much. All right, there's 2 steps that stand in between you and your glass of wine outside. Are you ready to earn it? And that is to understand your readiness to pledge. Colleagues, could we have our next Mentimeter poll coming up? So now you've seen that there is pledges that are expected. Anna's put the call out to you. You know you can find the site. And also she said that we will help you craft your pledge. These are time-bound, specific and measured. Who's ready? Remember, you can go to menti.com, put the passcode in the top of the screen in. So we look like we're tending towards being ready, but also some of you are still thinking. What is fantastic about this is that you're taking the time to think it through because it has to be specific and targeted. Awesome, okay. So Anna, it seems like we've got a whole bunch ready to move soon. And also some people are generally tending to want to think about their ideas before they're putting it forward. And that's exactly what you've asked for, isn't it? It's a really considered approach. Thank you, tech colleagues. Could we have our next question? Because this is a fundamental question. At the start tonight, we talked about the 6 steps that it took to come here. We understand that the policy and the framework has been set, and we understand here the market response has occurred. What we'd like to understand from you is, has your knowledge about what this means, the twin transition for proximity and social economy as it relates to green and digital improvement, how's your knowledge improved from the start of the night to the end of the night? Do you feel like you're more informed about what the goals are, about how to contribute, about what different organizations and measures mean? Is your mind feeling a little bit more informed? Here we go. I think we can safely say that the event is a success to the point that we feel more informed about what we're doing, and also we would love to work with you further to ensure that we get that at the top of the scale, and also welcome you in the social economy going forward. So we had 6 steps coming here, and the last one was with you, which was to pledge and understand where we're moving forward. We encourage you to step outside now and enjoy a glass of wine, talk with each other, and really dive deep into what your examples are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you're skeptical about, and what you're optimistic about. Thank you very much to our transition team and the tech team. Very good. See you.